Hello and welcome to another episode of the Australian Small Business Show. Kristy Lee, how are you today?
Hey Matt, I'm well. How are you?
I'm very well. We are recording this episode in advance because you're about to go jet setting with,
Yes, we've got to do a bit of batch creating, is what we've got to do. The podcast
so
community would call it.
you're off on a little break with a couple of the kids.
Yes, we're having a girls' trip to Singapore and Japan, and
Ooh,
I am neck deep in last minute logistics and the overwhelm that anyone that's tried to book a trip to Japan with unhelpful teenagers will know about. So,
it certainly has looked very complicated.
yes, it's been fun times. And then you're off with your son, so we're doing a bit of batch recording so that we've got episodes every week.
Yeah, buongiorno.
Yes, from future Matt in Italy. Okay.
Okay, so today this episode is going to be about hiring, which is your kind of expertise, and
hmm
and how hiring in 2026 might be a little bit different.
Yeah, look, the game's definitely changing when it comes to hiring staff effectively. And I think keeping up with the changes is really important because um, hiring well is the most essential thing you can do when it comes to building a great team and having a great team to lead. If you get the hiring decision wrong, it's just all downhill from there. So you've got to get the hiring decisions right, but we're in an environment where it's getting harder and harder to do that because candidates are very savvy, AI is everywhere, and employers are continuing to be overwhelmed in making hiring decisions effectively.
So is AI really, really important here?
Yeah, I don't think you can go into hiring in this season of business without considering AI. And when I say considering AI, on both sides of the equation,
Yeah,
applicants are 100% using it. If you've read a cover letter in the last 6 months, there's some laughable ones out there, but people are using AI to write their cover letters. People are using AI to write their resumes.
yeah,
They're using AI to do all sorts of job application processes. So you've got to be savvy enough to be able to spot it. Some of it, as I said, super obvious, which is nice and easy, but not always. And I work with a lot of employers that take cover letters on face value and think that
yeah,
people are always telling the truth and this is them writing it. And it's simply not the case. So you've got to be, as an employer, savvy enough and aware enough to spot the AI being used and
yep.
not necessarily rule someone out because they've used it, because why wouldn't you? But also to get through to the truth, which is going to be an exercise in becoming a really skilled hirer, but also
Yep.
figuring out how to leverage AI as the hirer, the recruiter, to make your life easier. So it can definitely help you.
Yeah, now over the last, couple of decades, I've assisted you from time to time in respect to your recruitment business. So I assume that even if I'm using AI to do a cover letter, put my resume together,
Mm.
you're still looking at that cover letter to answer the questions that are in the ad.
Yes, and look, it's controversial, but I think cover letters are a total waste of time. I don't read them. I don't put any
Yeah.
value on them, and I never have. I've been recruiting since 1999, and I think they hold zero value. But a lot of business owners put a lot of weight on a cover letter. And the reason I've never put value on them is because you've never been able to trust that they're written by the person who is making the application.
Right.
They could always have been
There,
professionally written or written by someone in their family or
yeah.
anything else. So I don't think a cover letter tells you very much about an applicant's suitability for a role. And I often find, even without AI being in the mix, that employers put so much weight on a cover letter that it almost gives them rose-colored glasses in terms of when they're looking at a resume and someone's actual skills and experience being relevant to the role. So
Yeah.
yes, in cover letters, but yeah, I don't think they're valuable, and I think they're becoming even less valuable.
Right. So, well, before we look at, what's actually changed in 2026, what hasn't changed?
Yeah, that's a good question because it's not a totally different game. Some things are still the reality that they were 5, 10 years ago. The first is speed is still critical. You cannot take too much time in your hiring process or you will lose the best candidates.
Yeah.
So that's always been the case, particularly if you're in a market where it's really hard to find good people. If you are looking at, candidates that are actively applying for jobs, if you don't make contact, get the recruitment process moving within a matter of days with those people, you will lose them. They will secure another job. And
Yeah.
it is naive to think that they're waiting around because you're a better employer than anyone else because they don't know that yet. So
Right.
speed is still king.
And so what has changed then?
So I think definitely the use of AI has changed. I think the other thing that's very different in the job markets that we're in now, and look, it's a little different depending on your industry and your location, but the best applicants are usually not actively looking. They are what we call
Yep.
passive job seekers. So they're open to opportunities, if you like. They're not going to write that on their LinkedIn profile, but
Yep.
they are open to opportunities, but not actively looking. And this is especially the case in specialist areas, niche skill sets, high demand skill sets like any of the trades, like literally any trade, but also, allied health, lots of different areas. So recruiters are very actively reaching applicants in that passive market. And as an employer, you should be doing the same and having an always-on recruitment strategy if you are in an environment that's competitive.
Yeah. So what's an example of that? So
Mhm.
I'm an employer.
Mm.
I don't know all the best people that I'm
Yeah.
targeting. How do I find them?
Yeah, it's a good question. So you've got to know where your ideal applicant is hanging out because recruitment is part marketing activity
Yep.
anyway, just reeling in applicants rather than customers. So it's about really understanding your ideal staff member for that particular role and figuring out where they spend time online or in person and really going to them. So as an example, one of the clients that I work closely with at the moment, our always on recruitment strategy is having a LinkedIn target list campaign ready. So
Right.
we have scoured LinkedIn. We know that there's only 5 competitors for them in Australia. So we want people that have worked for one of those 5 competitors to have the right experience. And we've gone through individual LinkedIn profiles and identified a list of about 20 to 40 people that have skills in that area, in that industry. And we have a process that we will roll out this year of making contact with those people, building relationships with those people, and ultimately, for some of them, making an offer for them to come and join that team. But
So
that's just
so as
one
it,
approach. So
yeah,
there's different
yeah. I'm
ways.
just so as an employer in that if that's your strategy, you really need to have a good knowledge of how LinkedIn works as well.
Sure. And that's knowing that in that particular market, applicants are spending time on LinkedIn. I've got a business friend who has an awesome always on recruitment strategy. Actually, I might invite her on to chat about it in the future. But she's building out campaigns to attract, she knows that her ideal candidate for particular roles in her business is someone who is early in their career, degree qualified with a particular degree, and happens to
Yep.
really like the outdoors and adventure generally.
Right.
They happen to be in a location that offers great environment and outdoor adventure. So they're putting together a campaign that's going to tie in working with them for a period of time and some
Yep.
outdoor adventure activities as part of the job.
What about networking?
Yeah, networking's, still great. I think this is where in the world of AI, our ability to connect with people face to face, over the phone, in person,
Yep.
is going to have
Yeah.
excellent cut through.
We've been talking about that a bit on the podcast lately, that
Yeah.
it's really, it's still about that human contact. And I assume, like as an employer, if the market, like you said, is people aren't they're not waiting for us to
Mm.
find them, we have to get a little bit creative, don't we?
Of course, yeah. Just like a marketing campaign, as I said, you've got to think about who your ideal applicant is, where are they spending time, what is important to them. Like we are dealing with generations in the workforce now that what they value in work is not a job. Like, when we first came into the workforce, it was like you got a job, you were thankful for the job, you did your job. That's
Yep.
not how it works anymore. So people are looking to make contributions, to feel like they're adding value, to feel like they're contributing to something bigger than themselves, to work for organizations that have values alignment. So you need to understand what's important to this applicant pool and be able to communicate with them that you can offer that. And I think
Yep.
video has a huge place in recruitment campaigns in the current environment as well. So, creating video of your team doing things in the workplace or,
Yep.
showing, having your team talk to camera to say, hey, this is a great place to work, or not even that, just saying, hey, here's a typical day at this business and here's what we do,
Yep.
just so people can see the real human side of it.
It really isn't much different than than selling something, right?
Mm.
So that particular job, you kind of have to look at it like it's a product
Yep.
that you're trying to sell to these future employees.
100%. It is a sales process. Yeah, absolutely. So the way we do that has changed, but the fact that our role as an employer is to sell us as the best possible employment option to the candidate that we desperately want to work for us hasn't
Yep.
changed.
Yeah, so that's right. So you need to be putting effort into making sure, like you said, your social media shows.
Yes.
It used to be a case of one of the important roles of your website was to show that this is an advertiser place that you want to come and work for, but your
Mm.
social media needs to reflect that as well in terms of
Yeah.
being someone that's looking at a job ad going, well, look, is that the right place for me? They want to go and see if their people are there as well.
Definitely. And I've spoken to applicants recently when I'm helping clients that say, oh, I've checked the Instagram and I'm
Yep.
really loving X, Y, and Z about the company. Your applicants are checking you out before they're applying for jobs. So you want
Yep.
to hope that your profile, whatever you're showing online, demonstrates to them that you are a great place to work. And importantly, whatever you're putting out there online and on your website is aligned to the reality of the workplace too. Because
Yeah,
there's no
that's right.
point,
It needs
yeah,
to be real, right?
yeah, 100%. There's no point putting something out there that makes it look like, you're all playing table tennis at lunchtime and sitting on beanbags and it's the stuffiest corporate office you've ever
Yeah,
seen once they arrive.
yeah, that's right. So we talked about AI in respect to the candidate. So
Mhm.
how should an employer be using AI to help with this hiring process?
Yeah, it's a great question. So job ad boards like Seek and all the others, they've had AI built into the background of them for a long time. So leveraging what's already available is really helpful. So with Seek, for example, you've got screening questions that you can add in. Be careful in selecting those because the ones they recommend are usually rubbish, but use them effectively. Like if you need someone that has their own car, that's essential for the role. You can add that as a screening question on Seek, and when you're reviewing the applicants, you can actually turn that to be a essential requirement. So Seek automatically screens those people that don't have a car out for you. So you can use it for the
Yeah,
purpose of, streamlining that process. Also for things like, ChatGPT is great for getting you from a blank page to at least a draft of a job ad. It
yeah,
won't do the whole heavy lifting for you, but it will improve because job ad writing is not everyone's forte. So you want to
yeah.
get some help with that. But I think what's really important is don't remove the human aspect of shortlisting applicants by too heavily relying on AI because AI can't read a resume as well as you can if you train
Yeah.
yourself properly. It will miss things, it will make assumptions as well. So use it to speed up your admin, but don't replace the
So
human
yeah,
side of it.
like we're using AI for most parts of our business, it's about
Mhm.
creating efficiencies.
Yeah, 100%. And use it for that purpose, definitely. Get it to help you craft some interview questions. If you're not a confident interviewer,
Yeah.
AI can do a great job at helping you craft interview questions if you give it the right prompts.
Right. So what else should I be looking for in 2026 when I'm hiring?
I think hiring needs to be considered as one of the most important things you do when it comes to your team. And you need to think of hiring as part of your retention strategy. So you're hiring with the thought of building a team that's going to stick it out, stay around, and be really valuable to your business, not just putting a bum on a seat, to be frank. So hiring is getting the hiring right is the only way to get the right team in process. You can't outrun a bad hire.
And we've talked about this before in other episodes, particularly around team culture and building teams, is that you need to, for example, say someone resigns, right?
Mhm.
I think the first protocol, and I always hear you talking about this, is to go, look, first we need to, rather than just going, right, we need to replace that person.
Mm.
It's more a case of going, well, is the role the same, first and foremost?
Yes.
And how, and how does it impact the rest of the team as well? So is that still a thing that employees need to be looking at?
Yeah, absolutely. More so than ever, because often, particularly with changes in technology, we've got roles that are no longer as valuable as they once were, or the skill set required to perform them has changed fundamentally from when we hired for that role 3 years ago. So,
Yeah.
if every time you get a resignation, your first step is let's relook at the whole org structure. Let's relook at this role and where it fits. And do we need this role in its current exact format, or do we need something
Yeah,
different?
I imagine like a lot, we talk about why people leave roles, right? So
Mhm.
if for example, someone's resigned because the role is not right, it doesn't had there was problems within the role.
Mm.
If you just go and replace somebody into that role, it's going to impact the rest of the team as well, and you could end up with three people leaving.
Yeah, you have a revolving door issue. That's right, because the problem's with the role, not people.
Yeah, so that's the first port of call.
Mm. Yeah, you always want to relook at it before you start hiring. And even that's even more important now than ever.
And what about so the hire's done? Um, Obviously, from a retention perspective, the hire itself isn't over when that person turns up on that first day, is it?
No, your onboarding starts the moment they accept the job offer, as far as I'm concerned. Whether they're starting next week or in 4 weeks' time, your onboarding needs to begin the moment they accept that job offer and continue for at least the first 6 months of their employment. You want them embedded into the business as quickly as possible, but you want to be onboarding from acceptance right through to the end of probation.
Okay, so I'm a new I haven't employed for a while.
Mhm.
I'm about to do my first hire. What's the most important thing I need to think about before I start this process?
I'll give you three things. The clarity of the role. What is it that we need in this position in terms of skills, deliverables, success metrics? The second is who is the ideal person and getting really, really clear. Because often we say we need someone that can do these 10 things. We don't. We need someone that can do the three top things on that list and everything else is
Yeah,
flexible. And we end up overcompensating and getting someone who's a poor cultural fit because we're focused on trying to tick too many boxes. So clarity on the role, clarity on exactly who you need in that position, and clarity on how you're going to go about finding and assessing to ensure that you get that fit. And whether that's getting help with that process or building out a process yourself or engaging different team members, having a process that you are ready to roll out, because timing can be really important too.
that's great, Kristy Lee. Is there anything else you want to add?
I think just putting some attention to your hiring in 2026 is going to be really important, and changing up how you do things. Don't assume that what you did 2 years ago is going to fly anymore, and be aware of the use of AI because it's out there, but also use it to your advantage. I think it can be a great helpful tool.
Awesome. So if you're listening to this episode and you're in the process of recruiting, hiring at the moment, we'd love to hear your stories.
Mm.
The war stories, the ones that don't work, and also the success stories as well. So jump on our socials, and right now we're building a newsletter, a weekly newsletter that's going out. It'll go out every Monday. Jump on our website, subscribe, and we'll give you a few handy tips each week.
Yeah, and that's the australiansmallbusinessshow.com.au, and we'll have the link in the show notes wherever you're listening.
Awesome. Thanks, Kristy.